Well, thank you guys so much. I'm so excited to be here at the inaugural owner conference. And as Mike was alluding to, I'm a young person in the industry, and I'm incredibly passionate in my job in marketing at Arlington, and of course, in front of the camera to kind of show thoroughbred racing to a younger generation, because we need that younger generation to step up and be the next generation next to be able to step up and be owners and just be thoroughbred leaders. So this next panel I'm so excited to be part of and moderate the panel, and the young men and women that I'm about to introduce are going to be the next generation of owners and leaders in the thoroughbred industry. So with no further ado, I'd like to start introducing our panel. She is first and foremost a marketing and client coordinator at Fasig-Tipton, where for the past 6 years she's been involved in the recruiting of horses and buyers and traveling to Australia, England, and France to promote the prestigious auction company. Before joining Fasig-Tipton and after graduating from the University of Notre Dame, she worked on the racetrack for leading horse trainer Todd Pletcher. She grew up working on her family's Brookdale farm in Versailles, Kentucky, and from all of these different experiences, it was a natural transition that she would want to own racehorses herself. In an effort to attract new owners to the sport, she and her husband put together racing partnerships based on having fun and educating new people wanting to come into the sport. Please join me in welcoming Anna Seitz. Our next panel member, a 2007 graduate of the University of Wisconsin with degrees in economics and real estate, he began his professional career in our industry as a racing and business manager for Ahmed Zayat's Zayat Stables. Under his guidance as racing manager, the stable won 19 stakes races, including Grade 1 wins by AZ Warrior, Escandarea, Jaycedo, and Rightly So, and Nero, who was runner-up to Animal Kingdom in the Kentucky Derby. 4 years later, he accepted the position of Chief Operating Officer at Team Valor International, the successful racing syndication operation founded by Barry Irwin, where his responsibilities included client recruitment and racing and financial management of the 165-horse stable. Team Valor managed over 300 racing investors during this time and counted Animal Kingdom's win in the $10 million Dubai World Cup, its greatest triumph on the track. This past June, he was voted onto the prestigious Breeders' Cup board. At 28, he's the youngest member to ever get elected in the board's 30-year history. He currently serves as a USA racing advisor to Sheikh Johan Al Thani of Qatar's Al Shakab Racing. Please welcome Brad Weisberg. That's a nice headshot, by the way.
Thank you.
Very nice. All right, our next panel member, she has had a lifetime of involvement in thoroughbred breeding and racing. In fact, her family's stakes winners through the years have included, among others, Personal Ensign, Easy Goer, Heavenly Prize, My Flag, Storm Flag Flying, Smuggler, Seeking the Gold, and most recently, Point of Entry and 2013 Kentucky Derby winner Orb. She also serves as a member on the board of the directors of the Grayson Jockey Club Research Foundation, the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association, and the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, and became a member of the Jockey Club in 2009. Prior to her current position as part owner and racing manager of the Phipps stable, she served in a variety of television production capacities with CBS Sports, the Golf Channel, and NTRA Breeders' Cup. Help me to welcome to the stage Daisy Phipps-Pulito. All right, our next panel member, he grew up working for his family's Millridge farm here in central Kentucky under the tutelage of men and women who have been an integral part of the Millridge operation for generations. Founded by his grandmother Alice Chandler in 1962 on land her father Hal Price Headley left her upon his death, Millridge has always been home to this panelist. Following college, he moved to Charlotte, North Carolina to work in commercial real estate and development, then on to Nashville, Tennessee, where he became involved in that city's blossoming downtown community revitalization. Always promoting and passionate about thoroughbreds and central Kentucky, he jumped at the opportunity to return to Lexington and work with his father Headley at Nakoma Bloodstock, the consulting arm of Millridge Farm. With conviction for the sport and believing the great opportunity to develop the sports fan base, he is actively involved with the Kentucky Thoroughbred Association, along with many other industry initiatives. Please welcome Price Bell. Hey, Price.
Good morning.
All right, our next panel member is the fourth generation to operate his family's Claiborne Farm, which was established in 1910. He attended the University of Florida, where he majored in animal sciences with a minor in agricultural sales and marketing. During summer vacations from school, he would work with Claiborne's yearling sales prep team as well as the Keeneland sales inspection team. Upon graduation in May of 2012, he went to work for trainers at Saratoga and here at Keeneland. For the 2013 breeding season, he was the resident vet tech at Claiborne, and once the breeding season ended, he spent time shadowing his father, Seth, as well as Claiborne's farm manager, Bradley Purcell, taking a large role in sales consignment as well as day-to-day farm operations. In early 2014, he became the president of Claiborne Farm. Please join me in welcoming Walker Hancock. We have everyone now. Hey, Walker.
Hey.
Welcome. All right, now I feel comfy.
Me
Sit
too.
down. Right. These are nice.
Very.
All right, so let's just start out. We just introduced you guys, got a really nice background on everyone. Everyone kind of came into horse racing by a different path. So I kind of want to know, how much encouragement did you all get to kind of come into the industry, or were you encouraged to maybe try something else before you came into the industry? So Price, let's start with you.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here today. It's a great honor to be up here. When I was very young, I think in middle school, I really wanted to work on the farm with my cousin Gatewood. He had a farm across the street, and I guess we were 12 years old, and Dad said very specifically, you know, it's a privilege to work every day, and I've always taken that and really enjoyed that, and so it was always fun to go be dropped off in the morning, work with everybody, and then, you know, at the end of the day, be tired, and at the end of the week, earn a nice paycheck. And from there, it just blossomed. I was always encouraged to really pursue whatever I wanted, but it was those early days, having the privilege to work with my grandmother and grandfather, father, and the team at Millridge that really instilled in me a love of wanting to come back. But it was never pushed that way.
Did you ever picture yourself doing something else, though, or did you just always kind of know?
It always felt right.
Okay.
It always felt right. Even when I was doing, and I had a career in commercial real estate, I was always, blood horse was the first thing I was checking, reading the TDN every morning, so I could never get too far away.
Right.
And I was always trying to make my way closer to home. So, yeah.
What about you?
My dad always told me I could do whatever I wanted.
Okay.
He never really pushed me. I thought I grew up wanting to be a professional baseball player, but that dream kind of ended in high school. But no, he always reaffirmed the thought that, like, this is a hard job, like there's a lot of stress involved, you don't have to do this, but it's something I always wanted to do, and it's just in my blood, and that's why I decided to return to the farm after college.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's in all of our blood, but Brad, tell us about your path, and did you always picture yourself being in the role you are today?
No, definitely not. My family's been in the horse business my entire life, my dad being an owner and also the publisher of the Thoroughbred Daily News, which some of you may be familiar with, which is like the Wall Street Journal for the horse business. It's a daily publication that tells everybody what's going on in owning and breeding. But I actually graduated college in 2007 from the Granger School of Business for Real Estate and didn't want to go into the horse business. Not that I didn't love it, but I didn't think I could make a good enough career out of it. And I went to intern for Goldman Sachs. And as everybody knows, 2008, the market started to crash. And the guys at Goldman said, do you really want to do this? This is a terrible culture. So I said, no, I'm really not interested in the banking world, and I kind of gravitated back towards horse racing, and I've had a lucky run for the last 6 or 7 years, and now got into the partnership / advising and advisory role for Sheikh Al-Thani, and kind of got some lucky breaks along the way. So I didn't start out necessarily wanting to go into the horse business. I'm thrilled I did because I get to work in my passion.
Yeah, we're thrilled too. Daisy, tell us about your path.
I think my family always knew I'd be involved in it. I don't think they thought it was going to be my job. When I got out of college, I went to work for CBS Sports for 4 or 5 years, and then went to work for the Golf Channel for 12 years. And I realized when I'd start cutting to commercial, when we'd had horses going the gate, that it was probably time to switch over to horse racing. And my parents always surrounded us with really good people that we worked with, and I was always able to go spend weeks at Claiborne and with Lane's End and learn different things. And I knew when I was going to commercials that it was probably time to switch careers.
And that's when you knew. But what about you, Anna?
When I was younger, I was the youngest of 5 children, and my parents made us all work on the farm when we were little. So it was a lot of work. It was hard work, and I remember when I got to high school thinking, that's too much work. All we do is chores and muck stalls all the time. So I kind of got away from it. And then when I got into college, I started to realize how amazing the horse business was and how much I wanted to be in it. And my dad always said, it's a hard life, you know, it can be a challenge, you know, you should look at other things. And I think the more he said that, the more I was like, I can do this, I can do this, I really want to be in this industry. And I remember the day I decided, I was a junior in college, and I remember exactly where I was sitting, and I said, this is it, I'm going to be in the horse business. And I'm really glad I chose that, and it's been a lot of fun, definitely challenging and a lot of hard work, but it's very rewarding as well. And it's just such a unique industry where you can meet so many different people from all walks of life. So that's kind of what draws a lot of it to me to that.
Absolutely. You know, similar to, I knew I didn't want to be a trainer or anybody that woke up that early. So
Exactly.
that when my dad was trains horses, I didn't want to be in that part of the industry. So I totally understand that. So, you know, speaking, you know, of my dad, my dad, taught me everything I know. He's the one that got me involved in racing. It seems very similar with all of you guys, just about being second and third legacies really in your family with racing. Now, do you think your parents and grandparents considered the sport to be a family tradition that was passed on from one generation to the next? And is your plan to leave that legacy maybe to your kids, your grandkids? You know, Anna, why don't we start with you?
I don't think my dad originally thought that when he started Brookdale Farm, and he built it from the ground up. But it turns out 3 out of 5 of us children are in the horse business full time, and my 2 sisters own horses in my partnerships, and they own mares and stuff. So it's kind of turned into that, I suppose, and now there are 12 grandchildren. Well, one's on the way, almost 12 grandchildren. I think them being around horses, I would love it if it passed on to the next generation. They seem to be into it. They seem to be working the sales on the farm. So it would be very cool to continue to hand it on and continue to keep Brookdale going.
Daisy, what about you?
I think the way that my grandfather set it up and my great-grandmother set it up, I think they did, because of our bloodlines, because we breed to race, we don't really buy at auction. I think they did set it up for us to pass it on from generation to generation. And our experiences at the track when we were young, they made it very positive, very fun. I try to do that with my children now also. So yeah, I think they did.
It's going to continue on. What about you, Brad?
Well, first off, I don't have the pedigree that a lot of people on stage here today have. I mean, you're talking about some historic farms in Claiborne, the Hancock family or the Phipps family or Anna's family. So I have a good sire, but everything else is very, very weak. And I'd also like to say that thank God my wife is not here, because I'm not even thinking about what my kids are going to be doing, because I don't have any kids. And I'm not ready to rush to have any kids right this second. So, but as far as continuing on a legacy, I don't think it means as much to my family, meaning being in the horse business, as much as enjoying life. And I think what horse racing has allowed me, my dad, and my brother to is enjoy life. You know, we wake up every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we have something in common that we love to go to horse races, be involved in ownership. And for me, that's the most important thing. I want my kids to find out what they love to do, like I love to do.
Absolutely. What about you, Craig?
Yeah, no, I think Brad said it very well. I mean, I think the benefit and the love of the horse, first and foremost, and then the joy of racing or a day at the farm or anything like that is really what is at all of our foundations. So if it's something that we can develop with our children, great. If they find their passion in something else, more power to them. You know, it's all about finding what they would really want to do. It's certainly, I'm very honored by the family who has carved a road in front of us, but at the same time, you know, each generation has had to be additive because you can't rest on that that's passed down.
Did you feel any pressure, though, coming from, you know, this legacy and the family to really continue it on?
Not really. It's always felt really just like an honor. Like I still really recall that it's a privilege to go to work every day, and I really believe that. And so
we're lucky in an industry that it's so easy to love, you know, being part of it, right? What about you, Walker?
Well, being the fourth generation, I guess there's maybe a little bit of pressure, but like I said, my dad let me develop my passion independently, and you know, he never pushed me one way or the other. But just growing up around the farm and going to see the horses with him and going to the races and feeling the excitement and everything like that, it was really hard to get away from. And like I said, it's just in my blood, and I loved it, you know, ever since I was little. And you know, if I can pass that passion on to my children, that's great. But if not, you know, hopefully I can have the same attitude that he has, and they'll find whatever they like to have the most passion in. And so hopefully it's horse racing, but that doesn't necessarily have to be.
And that's something too. I think, you know, we're so lucky. All of us kind of just we're allowed to just, you know, born into it kind of thing. So we appreciate what the industry has to offer at all times. So I think when we're talking about the next generation, we had it easy, really, right? I mean, we didn't have to not know what horse racing was and come into it as a new person. So I think it's neat that we then are, are talking to the next owners, the next generation of owners and the thoroughbred leaders, but really the fans too. I mean, right? I mean, how do you think that we're going to be able to help get new fans in? We had it easy by growing into it. What are your ideas then to get these new fans in? And then hopefully there'll be new owners as well.
Well, I think first and foremost, horse racing is obviously about the horse, and it's just such a great creature to be around, and you just feel a presence when you're around them, and the excitement and everything. I think as long as we continue to promote the horse the right way, make the right decisions, and think that put the horse first. Yeah. I like to think horse racing is too big to fail, so hopefully that's true, and we can continue making the correct strides into the future to improve horse racing.
And I think to that same point, I think we all remember our parents growing up around horses, so there's a comfort around being around these gentle giants. And so, it made it a lot easier to stick your hand through a fence and have a horse pet you because you see your father doing it, your grandmother doing it, your sister, what have you doing it. I think that, to me, that's the most important piece going forward in fan development is let a horse breathe on you, is what my grandmother always said. If you let a horse breathe on you, you'll fall in love. And I think that if we can better connect ways for people to have that kind of access, much to the way that the racetrack presidents were speaking yesterday, getting fans access to the animal and celebrating it as the foundation and on-ramp into the sport is very important.
Do you guys feel the same way?
I lost track of the question.
Well, what really just, how we're going to get the new generation, the next generation, that's our panel, kind of getting involved. We had it easy. We were born around it. How do we get those people that perhaps didn't grow up, like you said, feeding a horse, touching a horse, involved?
Well, I think horse racing as a whole has done a terrible job over the last 35 years in innovating like NASCAR or fantasy football has done. We had it real easy. We were born into the sport, so we naturally have been watching races since young kids or being around horses. Thank God we have places like the Owner View Conference to put on that have all of you guys here today, which give you the chance to listen to a great expert panel of speakers. Not us, we're not experts. We might be great, but we're not experts. But the other people have been. So you get to see how great a lives we live and how great our sport is. The Breeders' Cup is another example, which is going to happen in 2 weeks' time in California, which would be as good of a sporting event that is put on around the world. And hopefully a lot of you either attend this year or in the future years. Next year is going to actually be here at Keeneland. So that's something to attend, and it's like the Super Bowl for horse racing. You come, it's a week full of events, and not only do you don't have to have a horse in the race to enjoy the event. Just like in the Super Bowl, you might not be supporting one of the teams, but you can go and enjoy the week. So I encourage everybody to go check out an event like that if you're really interested in horse racing.
What about you, Dave?
Brad made me lose track of the question.
Yeah, right. Well, let's move on to something.
I think that there's a lot of ways now that people, it's easier for them to get interested in horse racing. There wasn't as many partnerships when I was growing up as there is now. There's some very young, fun partnerships that people can get involved in. They can touch horses, they can be around the horses, they can learn about the horses. And they're affordable and they're with good groups. Anna's got one now too.
And one thing I really want to emphasize is, yes, we all were lucky we were born into it, but that's, I think, a major misconception of the horse industry is that you have to be a legacy and that you have to be from a family that has horses, but that's not the case. And that's why I start my racing partnerships, is because I want to squash that, because I have 2 syndicates right now. One is a women's syndicate with 40 women, and I guarantee probably 35 of them weren't in the horse business before, they weren't born into it, and we have the best time. And I always say the greatest way that I can help the industry is by making horse racing easy to understand, easy to be around, easy to enjoy, and first and foremost, have a lot of fun, because it can be hard when your horses aren't good or they don't run well in the afternoons, but the camaraderie of owning horses and being at the races or going to the barn in the morning and watching them train is what it's really all about. And I really hope that you guys all truly believe that you can get into this, even if your families aren't into it. And that's why we're trying to do all these new things to make it just accessible and easy and understanding.
That's a very good point. Now you're talking about, having fun. I think one of the most fun you can have as being an owner is obviously going to the winner's circle after your horse just won. So if you had to single out, the most memorable moment that you shared with maybe your family or yourselves here in horse racing, what would it be, and why does it rank as one of your favorite memories? Walker, we'll start with you.
Well, one of my first memories I can ever really remember is a horse called Pulpit that was a homebred of ours, and that raced here at Keeneland in the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes. And it's one of the first times I remember, like, the build-up leading up to the race. you know, everyone was really nervous. My dad was a wreck that day. My grandmother was there, my aunt was there. We were all there. We had, you know, if he wins this race, he's likely to be the favorite for the Derby. And he had previously just won the Florida Derby. And we'd come here to Keeneland. And as you see here, it was a very exciting time. And it was really just the first time I remember just feeling the excitement and actually being able to understand it. At the time, I was only 8 years old, right there next to James Sellers. But
you were cuter then than you are today.
Yeah, that's all right. But it was just a great day all around, and it was just a very exciting time for my family.
Yeah, it definitely seems so. You know, Daisy, why don't we go to you? What was your most memorable moment?
Well, I think it's easy for me to say the Kentucky Derby from 2013. I think they're showing a different race there, but that's Easy Goer.
Okay.
Looks like an aqueduct, so probably the Gotham. But for me, it would probably the most memorable would be the 2013 Kentucky Derby, and it's not because it was the Kentucky Derby. My family, racing is one of those things that we can all do together. We've all had separate jobs. We've all lived in different parts of the country. Having a good horse sort of brings us all back, and it's a way for us to reconnect. Sugar, our trainer, has been training for us for 26, 28 years. His kids grew up with us. And Stuart Janey, our cousin, was also partners on Orb, and his family. We all got to Louisville. We all sort of reconnected. It was a really nice ride. And it was sort of maybe the perfect storm for all of us when he won the Kentucky Derby, because we could all be there, we could all celebrate together. And it's something that, because we have a big family, it's something we can't always do together. And so that was very rewarding for us.
And you can talk us through this race, if you don't mind, with Easy Goer, and just what your I mean, it's fun watching the race as a fan, but when you're so invested in a horse, kind of walk us through what your thoughts are.
I was like 13 during this race.
Okay.
Fast half mile there, 44 and change. So you had a good
He
pace
broke
to
the
run
track
into.
record in this race, and he's gonna win by like 14 or 15 lengths. Easy Goer was a cool horse. I was 13 or 14 at the time. My grandfather was still alive then, and he was but he was older. He was a really cool horse for my grandfather. He really loved this horse. He was Easy Goer and Personal Ensign were probably two of those horses that really solidified horse racing for my brothers and sisters and I, to make us fall in love with it and make sure that we continued it on with our families.
Thank you,
You can
Marshall.
see how many lengths did he win?
I don't know what it was. It was a lot.
That was a lot. So you were 13 and you just remember that race. And
Oh,
that was
yeah.
probably your most favorite memory then, especially with all
Yeah,
your family
Easy Goer and Personal Ensign in my youth were the two horses that really made me love it, want to go to the barn, want to be around horses, want to learn more.
Right. It's fun to pinpoint what horse kind of made
Yeah.
you continue on. Price, we'll talk about your favorite memory.
Sure. So I often say this business is about high fives, and so at the top of the stretch, and when this horse is Mamba, who wins the Bluegrass Stakes here at Keeneland, and when the top of the stretch, Dad and I, and you get this feeling where you're like, wow, he really might have a shot, and we happen to be watching it together. And to kind of give some backstory, so my grandmother inherited 250 acres and 4 brood mares when she started Mill Ridge Farm, and one of those mares was named Pillow Talk. And so the first foal of Pillow Talk she named Ave Veleque. So I think names are interesting. So Ave Veleque in Latin means hello and goodbye. And then the next daughter of Ave Veleque she named Ciao, which in Italian is hello and goodbye. And then she bred Ciao, who was her favorite mare, to Easy Goer, and produced Hamba, which in Zulu, my grandfather's South African, means walk away or easy going or something like that. And so Hamba was a great mare for us. We brought a dear partner in to her, and this is Mamba here in second. And he's traveling so easy that you kind of think, well, and he wasn't favorite in the race, and I don't remember exactly who was, but you kind of felt like he kind of had maybe an outside chance, and it just was owned by Starlight Racing as well, which is great fun. And here he's just traveling so easy, and you're thinking, you know, he really might actually pull this off. And you're looking behind to see if you see traffic coming, and right about here, Dad and I are at the very end of the clubhouse, and we're like, you know what? If he changes leads here, he might just get this done.
Jack, do you remember this? Jack, the owner of the horse, is back there somewhere.
Kentucky Bear. The inside fourth. Up front, Cowboy Cow. Mamba short lead. Mamba for Edgar Prado taking the Toyota Bluegrass.
So there was just this very big high five right at the end with Dad and I were just so excited. I remember the high five maybe because it stung a little bit more than the hug, but you know, you're just that excited, and it's just, there's so much emotion behind it all. It's just really fun being that many generations breeding back and all those things.
It's fun to see how these horses really come to life and make your life so exciting. Let's go to Brad then. You know, tell us about your favorite horse, your favorite memory.
My favorite memory in horse is not who they're going to show here. It's probably Animal Kingdom winning the Dubai World Cup 10 million. But here is Summer Soiree. This was my first week on the job for Team Valor, which is a great partnership and a great way to get in the game. But I gave the jockey instruction my first week. I said, open up nicely, but don't go too fast. Meanwhile, he opened up insane fractions. And she almost gets caught here. She ends up winning by about a half a length on the wire. But this was a great one race, and we made a very expensive private purchase off of a graded stakes win at Turfway Park. And winning a grade 1 kind of made everything, the partner's money and everything makes sense. And then she comes back to Keeneland and sold for $1.8 million after this race. So it was great for the partners to realize the success. And everybody says it's a sport, and it is. You shouldn't get involved for the money. If you're thinking about making money, I would not get involved in the sport. That being said, there's examples like this and examples like creating stallions that allow the partners to be very, very profitable. So this was a great example and a great memory.
Yeah, and you talked about Animal Kingdom as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Animal Kingdom won the Kentucky Derby, and then kind of everybody wrote him off as a one-hit wonder after he got hurt in the Belmont Stakes. And he came back and ran a very, very good second off of an injury to Wise Dan. Would be the top horse probably in the last 3 or 4 years in the industry. And then he had another injury, comes back and wins the Dubai World Cup. So he was very, very, very profitable for the partnership. It was a $10 million race, the Dubai World Cup, and he was sold for a reported $10+ million on top of that. And he was purchased for only about $120,000 here at Keeneland. So as I said, you can have some of those profitable experiences, which obviously keeps everybody happy and probably in the game a longer time.
Absolutely. Anna, let's talk about your favorite memory on the track with your family, and what horse in particular?
With my family, it would have to be, we raised and sold 2 clients of our families that are very good friends. Bodemeister and I'll have another. So that year, the Derby and the Preakness, when they went 1-2, that day at the Kentucky Derby was absolutely incredible because we were all there together and we were all cheering and everyone was drinking mint juleps and the sun was out. And it was just one of those moments. We all looked at each other and my brothers had tears in their eyes and we were just like, did that really just happen? And to be such good friends with the breeders and to have been around the horses. So I think for our family, that was a very, very special moment. And just that they grew up in the fields right where we all live and everything. So it's one of those like, wow, this is a really great sport.
Check this out. Pay attention.
I wasn't ready for this. Is different. Yeah,
is this you watching I'm Already Sexy?
Yes, this is for one of my partnerships. We have this little filly called I'm Already Sexy. And,
well, I need to hear this. Okay.
No, I had no idea. I always get excited, and that's the first horse we ever bought for my partnership, and we spent $20,000 on her in Fasig-Tipton, and she's turned out to be this great racehorse, but that made me a little emotional. I don't know, it was just she's been so fantastic for our group, and I had to work the sale, so I couldn't go, and our bloodstock agent, Bob Feld, was standing behind me, and when he saw that the race was setting up, he started filming, I guess, and I went crazy, apparently, and that video went everywhere, and I didn't know y'all were going to show that. That was a little embarrassing.
We didn't mean to embarrass you.
No, it's fine. That's right there is a perfect example of why you should be in the sport. I don't think you really have to say anything else, because where else can you get that kind of excitement and that kind of thrill where you just act like a crazy person and it's okay.
And it's welcome. It's encouraged, right?
Exactly.
How do you act when you win?
We're giving you great examples here of grade 1s and grade 2s and grade 3s, but really winning any race brings out that excitement.
Any race.
I don't know if you've owned, if many of you have owned horses yet, but you can win a $10,000 claimer and you can get that excited, and you should get that excited. It's one of your own running. So we're showing examples that most people in this industry don't ever get to live. And you really, look, you can strive to win grade 1s, but they're so difficult. So if I were you and I was in your shoes, I'd just go to strive to win that first race, and that will get the bug going. So we're giving you tough things to live up to, derbies and Dubai World Cups and graded stakes.
Yeah, right?
Just having a horse is awesome. Yeah. It's fun.
Just being around a horse that you own is awesome.
Doing it with your friends or your family and getting to come together, like you said, on the weekend it's incredible.
That was a perfect example. I was there at Arlington when she won.
I
You
remember.
should have called me.
I know.
I would have acted just like that, so then we both could have.
She has a lot of followers, and she's become, pretty cool.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk then. We're talking about the thoroughbred industry and how we're going to get new owners and the young generation in. But how do you think? Well, what's in store for the thoroughbred industry in the upcoming future, and how do you think you personally can kind of help, or what are your goals and thoughts to help the thoroughbred industry make it better, as we go in every moment?
Well, I guess for me, it's I think that this conference itself is a great example of industry leaders working together. I mean, to have 4 competitive tracks working together in many ways to bring us all together with the Jockey Club support and with TOBA's support to host this type of an event is, I don't know of another time that that's happened, at least in my lifetime. So I feel like the wins are behind us in our sales because we're working together. I mean, we can hear complaints that there's no czar of racing, but I think what we all recognize is that we're trying to drive people, to experience the sport. And I think that as whatever we can do to help support the initiatives that are in front of us, I think that we are all committed to doing because it is such a passion game, and we have such great leadership now working together to do so. I think is really special. It's a special time to be in the business.
Absolutely. Walker, what are your thoughts?
Kind of like what Brad said earlier, horse racing's kind of been stuck in the dark ages for like the past 35, 40 years or whatever, and not really keeping up with the contemporary times. And, having something like this conference is a great idea. We need to find ways that we can reach out to more owners, make them feel more part of the sport and welcome, and, and improve technology and always, be looking for ways to just improve the industry overall, whether it's experience at the racetrack or here at the sales or anything like that. We just need to make sure we're keeping up with the times and always be looking forward into the future.
Brad, I mean, you did talk about, how we can improve. Do you want to elaborate on that, or are there any other ideas that you think we can bring?
I don't know if there's so much more ideas, but I think sometimes it takes some bad results to try to trigger some type of catalyst to go in the right direction. We've had some bad things in the press in the last few years, and I think racetracks are taking amongst themselves, and board industries are taking amongst themselves to clean it up. And racetrack experience, I want to hone back to that. That's the most important thing in our industry, is that when the owners or the fans go to the racetrack, to the place that these horses race, that they enjoy the experience. And Keeneland's a great example of a place that does a great job of taking care of the owners. And just like I said, I hope all of you can come to the Breeders' Cup in a few weeks or next year. You all should come to Keeneland or to Naira or to Gulfstream or Frank Stronach's place, which is one of the best owners we have. I think Mike Rogers is on one of the panels. But Stronach does an amazing job to look after both the fans and the owners. So if the racetracks continue to go in the right direction, putting money into their facilities and allowing the owners to have a great time, I think that the industry will go in the right direction. I don't really want to get into the medication, stuff like that, because at the end of the day, the owner experience is probably the most important thing that we have to worry about.
Absolutely. Daisy, how do you feel?
I agree with these guys. I think the owner experience has gotten better, and it's improving a lot. I know Del Mar and Keeneland and the Stronach Group and Naira have all been working together to see what they can do to improve the owner experience between tracks, which is very helpful and nice. So if you're a regular at Keeneland, you're going up to Naira, you're not really there very much, you don't know where to go, you can ask the person from Keeneland to contact Naira, and they will make sure you have an enjoyable experience. And that goes at those at other tracks too. I think there's a lot of really hard people working in the industry right now that are trying to improve it, whether it's the uniform medication, owner experience, all of that. And so I feel like we are headed in the right direction.
Anna?
I think just to kind of emphasize on that is to take the intimidating factor out of it. I've had a lot of the partners tell me, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I live in Lexington, Kentucky, and I never knew how to own a horse. And I think that's our fault right there. I think that we can make it, it is kind of a complicated, scary thing at the beginning, maybe, but once you have someone you can go to ask questions, or who could teach you, or could give you a leg of a horse, or a piece of a mare, or just something to get you involved, then I think all of a sudden your numbers start to grow, and then they bring in their 10 friends. And if you just, like I said before, really emphasize it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's educational, and it can be less intimidating once you're actually involved in it, and you surround yourself with good people. So I think if we can make it, simplify it.
And with the younger generation, like you said, that may not understand how to get involved, or as you said earlier, think that it's just, for rich people, or for
sport, yeah.
Exactly, people that are already in it. For the younger generation, people that just recently graduated college, I think partnerships are huge, right?
Exactly. That's why I started, because I couldn't afford to own horses by myself. So I'm like, I got a great idea. I'll copy everybody else and syndicate it out and get a bunch of people, and it just took off. And now I have probably one person a week call me and ask me, can you teach me how to do what you're doing, because I want to get my friends in. And I say, sure, here's what I do. It's really, I keep it simple, and here's my notes. I'm happy to share, and it seems to be working, and they seem to be having fun and getting in. And claiming horses is always a great way to start. You could just claim a filly or colt or whatever, and just have instant action like that. And that's a good way to kind of get into it without having to go to the sale and try to buy a horse at auction. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved. Low cost at the beginning.
The partnership model is also very, very key, because it's a numbers game. I want everybody to understand, you don't just go buy one horse and it's successful. Generally it takes a team. I would always say, if you're going to put $20,000 into the game, put $7,000 in 3 different horses. So it's key, the partnership model, that allows you to buy smaller percentages, 5 or 10% of a horse, or I think Anna says she has 40 partners, so it's closer to 2.5% of a horse. That allows you to have more action, because action is what's going to help you enjoy the sport.
All right, so I think we covered a lot of elements for Generation Next, so now I'd like to open it up to the audience to ask a few questions to our amazing panel. So this gentleman here.
First of all, I think this is a great idea. I was looking forward to this. I learned a lot from the veterinarians. I don't know much, but you guys, I was really curious to see what you'd think. So that was great. Anna, don't ever stop jumping for joy. That's just so wonderful. My name's Greg on Wisconsin.
Go Badgers.
I'm gonna direct this to you two. I think so many of us are so close to this, and we're excited for the Breeders' Cup, and it's coming up, and we know the time. How many people at Wisconsin, when you were there, how many people at the Golf Channel are aware of horse racing? Are we confused by this? Are we shocked that, everybody's aware, or what's going on outside of the industry at the average college campus on the Golf Channel, where you're seeing people away from the industry?
The answer is very, very few, and I don't think we need to fool ourselves. And we have 7 minutes, so I'll try to answer this question in only 30 seconds. But an idea that I had for the industry was to highlight one of our big Saturday afternoon races at halftime of a college football game. If you look at college football, or some of the most successful sports, everybody's tuning in to watch them. They bet on it, a great young demographic. We haven't done enough to reach the people that are not interested in horses. You guys are great. You signed up, you paid money, you come to a conference, and you've shown interest. But the answer is very, very few people in Wisconsin or in Notre Dame or in the college towns are aware that horse racing exists. And my friends think I'm a jockey. I'm 5'6". They think I ride horses. So they don't even understand that I manage horses and put together partnerships of my own horses. So very few. We don't do a good enough job to get those people involved.
But I think that what is exciting is that people who have brought to the races before from high school, college, who have no background in it, they can't get enough. I mean, we started out with a small party of 10 people 10 years ago, and now we have 150 people come every year because they want to bring their friends. So our sticky factor is very, very positive. It's just a matter of getting over the information asymmetry and getting people off out of their comfort zone and coming and experiencing racing. So.
How do you think we do that? We're talking from Wisconsin, and with different states, I think Kentucky, we'd be surprised, I think, about how many people maybe don't understand, but it's a little bit easier in Kentucky when you have the home of the Kentucky Derby at Churchill. Chicago or Wisconsin, people, they're not around horse racing. So how are they going to get even interested? How do we do that? I know once we get them here.
Well, America's Best Racing Tour started a bus tour around the country, and they go to all the big events, and they go to college towns, and that was a start. And I think that's very important. Ideas like that try to take, look, you have Lexington, you have those people, you have UK, they're coming. They do a great job to attract them. but we don't do a good enough job in places that don't have horse racing, and that people are going to eventually move away from those places and hopefully go to the bigger cities that do have horse racing. So we just need to continue to innovate. The great idea, the bus tour, and continue to try to attract the people out of our normal circle.
Well, and Fox Sports has been doing those shows, and I think that's picking up momentum, and there's been a lot of producers who've contacted all of us about trying to do a reality show just for those exact reasons. So I think people are trying and things are happening, and it's just, you're right, we do need to continue to grow and make it more mainstream, but it's difficult to break into. People are stubborn, they just only know what they know, but I know there are a lot of major networks and people trying to do that.
Yeah, and I think just even getting to the tracks themselves, I think the tracks are just doing an amazing job of having, and it's creating an entertainment destination.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to go for the band and the $2 drafts. Okay,
But
now
maybe
I
I'll
just
make a
won
bet.
my $2 bet, and
Yeah.
okay, now I'm interested. So I think, a lot of the industry is doing a really good job in that sense. There's more to be done. Sir?
I'm Andy Evans. I'm from Seattle, and we do race out there. And I can see that some of you are into viral video. But how do you feel about social media as a tool for owners to gather more interest in their horses?
I think social media is a phenomenal tool that we now have available to us. I laughed. We are working on a project with the bourbon industry, and Woodford Reserve is a bourbon distillery around the corner. And they were talking about their social media initiatives, and they said that the #1 tweet that got the most followers on Facebook, retweets, et cetera, was someone was running late for a meeting, and some yearlings had gotten out on Steel Road. And so they had to stop and wait for the yearlings to move, and they took a picture of it, and they said traffic jam in horse country. And it was the imagery of the animal that was so prominent and reverberated throughout the rest of their social media channels. So I think it's a great opportunity, because I think that the animal is what's so captivating, and people love it and have that connection.
I think it's the future. It's definitely becoming. A lot of people have Twitter accounts for their horses. Some of my partners just set up Twitter accounts, and they pretend they're the horse. But it's also a good way to get information. So the second, horses are entered in races. So for me, for my job and just for enjoying horse racing, it's amazing what you can get off of social media to keep you up to date. So I do think if we continue to utilize it, it's going to be a big part of our future.
Twitter for us now that's where we get our most timely information in horse racing.
Yeah, I think it's a huge driving force. Like being all the way out in Seattle, you can read a tweet and feel like you're connected to Saratoga or Belmont, whatever, just like that. And I think we, moving forward, need to take advantage of that kind of opportunity.
I think we can't underestimate the use of the celebrity as well in social media. I mean, the celebrity is probably the most attracting thing to Twitter or Facebook, and we have some great celebrities in our sport, whether it's Bobby Flay, a famous chef, or other people like that. And first of all, I want everybody to follow me at Brad Weisbord Twitter. But some of my Twitter feed is taking pictures with celebrity. Arnold Palmer comes to Keeneland, and people can relate to that. I mean, all that helps drive eyeballs to the sport and hopefully create more owners and fans.
Absolutely. Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Yeah. Mr. Player has a question.
Another celebrity.
It's so infectious to see young people like yourselves with such enthusiasm and what you're going to be doing for the game, because obviously you'll be better educated than we were. But if you listen yesterday and to Mayor Jones, to Governor Jones, he started when he was 5, his first touch of a horse. You listen to Tom Durkin when he was young, myself when I was 9 and my mother died. So the youth of a nation are the trustees of posterity. Why are the home of the thoroughbred racing? We're not getting people to go to the track, which is so exciting. Yes, you can have all the great facilities at the track, but you've got to get young people there. Every stud farm in this country should be inviting 2 young boys from a school to spend a weekend at their farm. Look at all these stud farms you have in the country. Is it asking much for twice a year for a stud farm to invite 2 young boys or 2 young girls to come to the farm? You've got them hooked for life.
It's funny you say that. On Monday, I was recounting this earlier. On Monday, we had the privilege of having some kids from Southland Christian after-school program who are at-risk kids here locally, and there were 25 kids who came out, and they had a one-to-one, tutor. And the week before, they'd been at the UK basketball practice, so our bar was set pretty high because John Calipari is much more charismatic than I am, and these basketball players are much more relatable than I am. And on the way out there, they were saying, they were accounting to the tutors, they said, "Why are we going to a farm? What's this all about?" And then they got out there, and we rolled the windows down, and we got them out, and we, fed horses over the fence, and we saw them pet noses, and they were just like, the smiles on their face when they left was so infectious. And the tutor said afterwards, it was one of the highlights of the entire after-school program was the opportunity to be in the open space and see that. So it's a matter of us as stud farms, we are doing a better job of working together to coordinate those types of experiences to, instill the love of the animal into the next generation.
I copied something from Wayne Lucas. Wayne Lucas, I don't know if everybody, one of the most famous horse trainers in our game, Hall of Fame, and he brings a little kid into the winner's circle almost every time he's there. Doesn't own the horse, but knows that experience could make that little kid a fan. And I kind of took one from him and try to pull a kid or two every time we win a race into the winner's circle. But Mr. Player, we do not do enough of stuff like that. I think we just keep reminding everybody else in the industry that we all need to get the younger generation involved, because eventually, like yourself at 9 years old, that's what creates fans.
All right, we are out of time now for our Generation Next panel. If we can give another round of applause for these amazing, energetic young people in our racing industry. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.